SpaceX beats the weather in style and launches biggest operational launch of 2024. The Falcon Heavy lifts off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida at 5:26 p.m. ET today to launch the NOAA's GOES-U satellite with NASA's Launch Services Program. Image, NASA TV. This is not investment advice. The author has no position in any of the stocks mentioned. VTC.com has a disclosure and ethics policy. After weather constraints had initially led to fears of a delay, SpaceX successfully launched its biggest operational launch of 2024 earlier today from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The Falcon Heavy lifted off with the GOES-U satellite for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, after teams chose to slightly delay the launch time to allow weather conditions to improve. These delays improved the probability of no weather violations to 70% from an earlier 10%, and the launch itself was a crisp affair with clear views of the Falcon Heavy throughout its ascent to the landing of the two side boosters on land. SpaceX beats the weather and successfully launches Falcon Heavy from Florida. The key determinant for a successful launch today was SpaceX's fuel loading operation for the Falcon Heavy, as it would lock in a launch time for the rocket. SpaceX had to balance the launch time with the probability of violating weather constraints, and early into the count today, the launch time was shifted forward by 10 minutes from 5:16 p.m. local time to 5:26 p.m. This improved the chances of adequate conditions to 70%, and right on the dot, the Falcon Heavy's 27 Merlin engines lit up for a successful liftoff. During the countdown, teams from NASA, NOAA and SpaceX worked together to determine the correct time for the fuel loading. A little over 56 minutes before liftoff, NASA managers gave the go-ahead to propellant loading into the rocket, which locked in the launch time. While the 10-minute wait made all the difference for liftoff, storms in the region of the launch site meant that a longer wait might have meant a launch delay. Close to the 3-minute mark after liftoff, the Falcon Heavy's side boosters successfully separated from the center booster and reignited their Merlin engines for the boost back burn. Tracking footage from ground cameras showed the two rockets orienting themselves for a landing in symmetry, and the two rockets landed on land a little over 8 minutes post liftoff. Since the GOES-U satellite is headed for a much higher orbit than satellites typically launched by SpaceX, the Falcon Heavy's second stage will use 3 burns to guide the spacecraft to its destination. SpaceX explained in the pre-launch conference yesterday that the satellite would be deployed a little over 4 hours after liftoff, and the added performance punch from the Falcon Heavy would also increase the spacecraft's lifetime. According to the NOAA, this lifetime extension, which saves the satellite's fuel for its orbital maneuvers, should last at least 5 years. SpaceX's next Falcon Heavy launch is slated for later this year. It will send NASA's Europa Clipper probe to Jupiter's icy moon Europa. The launch will be a rare mission to deep space since the majority of SpaceX's missions are focused either on low Earth orbit, LEO, or on Earth orbits in general.